What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Rise of the Ronin. I finally feel like I've put enough hours in to at least give you guys a thought process, right, where I'm at with this game. This was a game I was looking forward to going in, and it became more and more clear, right? We saw the review scores. We talked about the review scores. Seems like a particular type of game, and what it does well, and what it doesn't do well, it kind of falters, right? And so, okay, it's been long enough. I do want to thank PlayStation. PlayStation actually gave me a code at launch. It just took me forever because of South Park, because of all the 5,000 games I was playing. But I finally got around to, again, playing enough where I think I can make an opinion on it and at least talk to you guys about how I feel. And I quite like it. I like it for its strengths. Now, I'll be honest with you. I really think that kind of lead up and what we heard from those reviews, I think it was kind of fair. This game does one thing outstandingly well, okay? And it's the combat. I think when you're in the middle of combat, even if you go from, say, one camp to another camp, and you fight, and then 30 seconds later, you fight again, it's at its best when you are fighting. It is strategic. It is, and I'll say this, I'm not good at the FromSoft kind of games, and even like Neo, those type. I mean, I'm pretty bad at them. So take everything, I guess I say, with the combat with a grain of salt, but I really feel like the combat in this game is a sweet spot for somebody like me. I gotta be real. I mean, like, it's not too challenging where I just like smash my, I've never actually done that, but it's not that hard where I smash my controller. There are some very tough battles, within the first, I played around 10 hours, okay, so far. There's some tough fights, depending on what side content you even do in this game. There's some tough battles, and some of them did make me pretty mad, okay, but for the most part, I really got what it was trying to do, and there's different combat styles, and the skill points that you invest into things, they really can change up your gameplay. How you fight might be very different than how I fight. I fight kind of with a katana, right, kind of like a shorter distance weapon, and then I do like a pole arm or a spear, something that has kind of range to it, and I go kind of back and forth between them, and I find that to be a nice little groove. But you might fight differently, right? I really think that's where it's at its strongest. When you're looking at the enemy, you're trying to figure out when to do kind of like your perfect block, right? Which is like your parrying move. It's triangle. And I mean, it's satisfying. It's very, very satisfying to block it and watch their, I guess, stamina meter like completely, run out, and managing your own and making sure you have enough and being able to dodge at the right time. And some of these finishers, the idea that this game is like a Ghost of Tsushima mixed with Assassin's Creed, I do believe that's exactly what this is, okay? Is it as good as Ghost of Tsushima? I don't think it is. I'm just going to come out and say it, and it's for the other reasons, right? Because the combat I really do think is great. It's the other things I do feel so far have fallen short. But if you're just looking at this and saying, well, Alex, what kind of games is this like? Literally mix, even the combat styles of Ghost of Tsushima, like it's got that kind of difficulty curve. I think it's harder than Ghost of Tsushima, but it's not as hard as like a Dark Souls or Demon Souls, right? But it's like that. And then, yeah, I mean, you look at some of the finishers, and it's like this does feel a little bit like Assassin's Creed. Some of the almost checkboxy side missions that you do feel like some of the later Assassin's Creed games. So it definitely, I think, has that feel. And again, for the most part, I actually do not think that's a bad thing. It shines the most in combat. It shines when you're going around, and again, you're kind of analyzing and doing your stealth takedowns and all that stuff, going into missions with AI, which are not the smartest, I'll say that, but also you could go into a mission with people online. Now, as the days have gone, I've found that it's harder to get into those matches, and I don't know if it was maybe the time and day I was playing it, but like early on, I did get into a mission right away with two other people online, and I had a blast. I don't know how they felt, but I had an absolute blast, and it was strategic, and it was pretty darn cool. When you're going in with your AI, I mean, they can do damage, sure, but I don't know. The AI companions that you bring into missions are not the smartest. They tend to follow your lead. They're more defensive heavy than they are attack heavy, so you can't exactly depend on them to bail you out. If you're getting destroyed, they won't always come to help you. So that's kind of an issue, but overwhelmingly, the combat is the game's strength. Hopefully I've spent, enough time talking about that, whether it's the different weapons or, again, the skills or just going into these camps, taking out the enemies. And that very much feels like Ghost of Tsushima, right? It'll tell you, hey, you have 11 enemies to take out here. 3 of them are going to be, like, pretty powerful. Watch out, right? And you just go do it. And that's most of the game, to be honest with you. Now, the rest of the game, I do think that's where it falls kind of flat. Well, I guess one middle thing would be, okay, I'm going to say, like, the looks of it. Now, it's an interesting game because the game does not look good. I'd say overwhelmingly in terms of like technical prowess, that kind of stuff. It really doesn't look like the greatest game out there. It doesn't look like a game that was made in the last 5 to 8 years, which is definitely, I would say, a complaint. Now, does the game need to be the most beautiful thing of all time? No. And that's why, honestly, I leave this video, or like as I'm going, even when I'm going into this video, I think of this game more positively than negatively, but it really is true, guys. As we talked about leading in, totally depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for like a killer story, this game, I mean, it's got moments, but it doesn't have a killer story. If you're looking for killer characters, it has okay characters. It doesn't have great characters, okay? If you're looking for the most beautiful game of the generation, this is not it. If you're looking for a game that has the most depth when it comes to side activities, I feel like it copies quite a bit from Ghost of Tsushima as well. There's things of petting cats in this game. There's things of praying at shrines. And I'll say this. If you watch how I talked about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I actually would echo a lot of those same things here. When it comes to my opinion on these kind of like checkboxy games, they're never terrible. To me, and maybe it's like the way my brain is, right? Like you show me a game and it's got like 20 side objectives in a region, I'm going to want to do them. Okay, it's just kind of how I'm programmed or wired. Doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it terrible. I've said before, I really think these open world games need to trust us more as gamers, and you don't need to fill your game with kind of pointless things. And again, like I mentioned for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is it like terrible to climb the radio towers and activating them? No, they're just not necessary. And it's really the same thing here. Everything in this game does feel samey. You go around and again, you're doing the kind of the same thing. It is very checkboxy, and ultimately it does boil down the combat to go to a camp, fight the enemies in the camp, go to a different camp, fight the enemies in that camp. It could be main missions you do this. It could be side missions. It could be side activities. It's the exact same every time. Now, again, it shines because you're always getting new weapons. You're always getting new gear. You mix and match. You're facing different types of enemies. There's some like stronger enemies that'll kind of, that'll be different. You may have not seen them before. There is some cool story beats, right? There'll be things here and there that spice things up, but generally you're doing the same thing over and over. So I would say the same thing with this as I said with the other one, or Final Fantasy, where I just feel like they should trust us more, where you don't have to give us 500 things to do, right? But going back to the visuals, it's also a mix for me because at times the game does look good. I think the setting, where it's set at, and these towns or villages or little like camps on the side, I think there is kind of beauty there. And even sometimes when you're like running through a field, I was playing this yesterday from when I'm recording this, and there's a couple moments, I try to ride the horse a little bit, but mainly I walk or I run. And there's some times where it's like a big open field and there's the wind that's like hitting the ground, right, the grass. And there is a sense where like the game does actually look pretty darn good. I think, again, it depends on your metric of, well, are you expecting Horizon Forbidden West? Are you expecting, like Uncharted games at their peak? Like, what are you expecting for a game like this? And it's, honestly, it's up to you. I know there's plenty of people that said, hey, it's a PS5 game. It's a full-price PS5 game. I expect better visuals. I mean, it's your money. It's your money, so it's not up to me to tell you how to spend or not spend your money, right? That's totally up to you. I will tell you from my perspective, I don't care about visuals as much as other people do. You telling me it came out this year, I'd be like, ooh, I mean, you probably could have told me it came out 6 years ago, and I also would have believed you, if you said that. But I don't know, like, I'm thinking about this game almost like, well, what are we going to say about it in 5 years from now? Well, you're not going to say anything about how amazingly beautiful it looks. Again, there's moments of beauty, but I kind of think that's dictated from the setting. I think because the setting has some natural beauty, sometimes that shines through. In 5 years from now, you're going to be talking about this game because of the gameplay. And that's kind of it. Because like I said, there's a couple story moments that are pretty good, especially early on. And then they're kind of sprinkled throughout, at least in the main mission, of this game. The side stuff, again, it's kind of rinse and repeat, but it's still fun because of the combat. But they don't have there's one character I can think of that kind of stands out. But generally, the characters, like listening to them talk, it's like, all right, I mean, I guess I'll listen, but I could also kind of skip. I'll read what you say, and then I'll skip it, faster than you can say it out loud. There's no characters that really pull me into the world. And I've met plenty. I mean, I've met maybe 10 or so different big side characters in this game, and none of them are like, ooh, I want to know so much about it. It doesn't really have that. And the story is definitely interesting, but it's not the thing that's going to keep pulling you into this game. It's the gameplay. So I do think the thought process, I guess, right, going into this game, I do think it was right. I got to be real. I really think it was right. The game excels at its gameplay. Excel, the word excel. Does it excel at anything else? No. In my opinion, it does not. It does a lot of things average. It does, like, if you think about Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed, not to keep bringing them up, but is this game as good as Ghost of Tsushima? No, it's not. If you think about almost a discount Ghost of Tsushima, but maybe with a heavier emphasis on the gameplay, but it's tough. And because I got to be real, like, my own personal preference, which one I would prefer. I really love the stances of Ghost, and the way you would do duels, I think, was really kind of original. This game doesn't have that, right? So it's like, I don't know, Ghost, I feel like, would even maybe beat it in that, but the gameplay is good, and it does always kind of draw me back, and it's challenging without, again, making me want to rage out. At times it maybe does, but generally, no, honestly, I can get through this better than I can get through other types of games, right? I can also, because I did this, I can also kind of put it down for days and then come back, which normally, I mean, if I did that for Elden Ring, or if I did that for Neo, or if I did that for Mortal Shell, any of these, I would get destroyed. I would be obliterated. And for this game, honestly, you can kind of pick it back up and say, all right, it's just about watching the enemy's pattern and making sure you got it, making sure you're blocking or parrying at the right times. I like it. I really do enjoy it. And again, I think it depends even on the weapons that you're using. So that is this game's biggest strength. So that's it. I mean, I don't do scores. I don't really even consider this a review because I haven't beaten the game yet, but I wanted to just, again, let you guys know what I'm thinking about it. You hear it, and then you decide, if you haven't gotten it yet, if it sounds like a game that's for you. I feel like a lot of people might wait on it and just buy it at a discount, right? It came out the same day as Dragon's Dogma, came out a month after Final Fantasy. I mean, it's different. It's different than all of these games, but maybe you're playing other stuff and maybe you're kind of waiting on it. I think this is a game a lot of people are going to get months down the line, and they probably will respect the game. I respect this game. I respect it for what it's trying to do, even though, again, a lot of the things I think it does kind of average, and then it excels where it feels like excelling, right? Which is fun. I mean, honestly, not every game is going to be a 10 out of 10. This is definitely kind of one of those games, but we'll just leave it there, okay? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.